All right. Welcome, guys. My name is Jason. I am your host for today's show. You're listening to the Brand Identity Design Business Podcast. I have been doing this podcast for almost 1.5 years, maybe slightly more than that. I have done around 111 episodes so far on my podcast. I have also produced over 8,000 minutes of content related to business, all by myself. No team, nothing, just by myself. And my podcast is heard over 23 countries, currently ranks on Spotify on the top 30%. I think by the end of this year, based on the new analytics, I think I should move to the 20% category on Spotify in most cases. I have seen sizable increase in the listeners. Not only that, I was fortunate enough to be awarded the Anchor Spotlight Awards from Spotify this January of 2023, recognizing my work and my contribution to the podcasting industry through my content. It's lovely to have you guys here, and today is a very interesting topic which we would be talking about. Would your podcast actually pay the bill? Now, before I get into this, I want to actually make a quick few announcements. All right, so I want to make quickly a few announcements. The first announcement I like to make is that the season 5 waitlist is open. So that means I generally do my podcasts based on season. Every season consists of around 24 or 27 episodes in total, including bonus content, which I do, but at least a minimum of 24. I do this every week, so my show gets broadcasted live every Wednesday at 12 Eastern Standard Time. I plan to actually shift the timing from 12 to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time so that we can actually get more audience from the West Coast, to listen and tune in to my show more. All right, so that's season 5. That waitlist is open. You can actually hit me up. I can send you the waitlist link. And if once we review your profile, if we feel it's a good fit with the content we are producing, we would be happy to have you as a guest. Second thing which I want to let you know that this current season, which I'm doing, season 4, it will come to an end on October 11th, 2023. So next week on October 11th, I'm going to be doing an interesting episode with a guest of mine who is a close friend, who is also a designer as well. And post that, I would start doing a small mini series which I would be experimenting with. So this mini series, unlike my traditional shows, my traditional episodes run between 45 to 90 minutes at a stretch, usually through my interviews. So I want to do a mini series focused on a specific subject matter, which will help business owners. So I want to actually start doing that series with timelines and everything in mind. So I think that's going to start around November 29th. And it will continue till December 27th, November 29th to December 27th of 2023. And I would be doing a 6-part mini series. If you're interested in knowing more, hit me up. I've already posted a message of the next week's interview. It will be a continuation of that. So anyways, let's actually deep dive into this conversation, which you guys are here for. Okay, So today's bonus episode, we are going to be exploring the topic, which could be actually puzzling for even new or even experienced podcasters or seasoned podcasters myself. The question that many of us who are into this game, at one point or the other, you would have asked this question. I'm doing this podcast. Would this podcast pay the bill? Would your podcast pay the bills? Is it adequate enough or no? So we are going to be exploring this fascinating world from a perspective that goes beyond the financial bottom line. And I'll try to deep dive into and share a bit of my personal journey in podcasting and what I feel about it. So like I said in the beginning, guys, I had the privilege of producing over 111 episodes so far, around 8,000 minutes of audio content related to business, and it has come a very, very long way. And I have learned a lot of valuable lessons. I have seen the ups and downs. Okay, you will hear a little buzz noise. I think it's raining here. So I think my microphone is catching that. Let me just reduce the gain a bit. All right. And yeah, so I've seen many ups and downs, and I have seen the triumphs, the challenges that comes with podcasting. So let me give you guys a little more context. I have really messed it up, when I started doing this. I have done multiple guest bookings on a single day, back to back, without even remembering I had one scheduled. And sometimes, most of the times, this happens because I forget the time zones. I get confused with time zones because your guest might be in a different country, and I might schedule them based on the time zone I'm following and mix match. It is pretty messy. I have also lost my notes midway during an interview. So I used to actually use the notepad on Microsoft on Windows laptop, and I realized that once you delete it, you can undo it once, but you can't undo it before. So I lost my notes during an interview. I have actually asked the same stupid question over and over again to my guest, even though they have answered it, without, because I was not paying attention to what they were saying during the show because I was nervous as hell. I have messed up the promotional graphics. I have procured a lot of licensed music. Okay, but the stupid thing is that I never actually saved the licensed music. And I got a lot of copyright strikes from Spotify, and you would not believe Spotify has sent me a notice to re-edit all my old episodes which I had produced, which had copyright music in it. They either said to hit us with the license or just remove it. So silly things, and many more. So it has been an incredible ride, and it has also led me to ponder the financial aspect of this medium. Like, why would you go through all these hurdles, mess? Like, what's the reward like? What would be the motivating factor you to continue this grind? So I asked myself this question. Let's talk about financial realities. Let's address the elephant in the room first. Podcasting, I think, for many of us, usually would not pay your bills. It does not, from a traditional sense. And while you might hear a lot of stories online on Google, YouTube, and many other platforms about podcasters making around the million mark or even billion mark, but the reality is that the vast majority of people who do podcasting don't see any financial returns. I was trying to actually gather more information, and I stumbled upon a research which I have seen about podcasting analytics about people who make money through podcasting. 95% of podcasters, according to that website, I so wish I had bookmarked it. I'm so sorry, guys. But if you Google this, if you were to just do a search, 95% of podcasters do not make any money through podcasting. And so it's important that you have a realistic expectation from the very start. Now let's talk about the cost of production of podcasting. People think that it's you can plug your phone and a microphone and that should be done. I started off with that, and honestly, if you love what you are producing, if you're passionate about it, you would want to invest more money and get the right equipment, the microphone, because the audio quality can make a very sizable difference. So let's dissect about expenses. The equipments, you need to host your podcast, you need to edit it, you need to promote it, you need to have graphics around the podcast to make it enticing, exciting for the people who tune into it. If you keep everything exactly the same, it's gonna become boring and people may not be very interested. So it's not uncommon for podcasters like myself, Jeffrey, I saw just a while back in the audience. It's not unusual for podcasters, even Leslie, who is down there, that we might just invest the money we earn from podcasting back into the podcast itself. So I remember a time when I got paid quite a lot, not through sponsorship, but through business opportunities. And I invested that money right back in the podcast, bought myself the nice equipment, the audio clarity which you hear. I bought a nice microphone, not very expensive, but something which can does the work. Because I was investing in the future. And at this moment of time, not many people actually see the value in it. But when you're into this game and if you're passionate about what you produce and how you help people through your content, I think those are some of the sacrifices you have to make for the better good of mankind, humanity, whatever you want to call it. So now let's talk about advertising and sponsorship. I just want to let all the 7 listeners know who are listening to us, and I'm very, very appreciative of you tuning in. If any of you guys are interested in coming up on stage and being a part of this conversation, please do not hesitate. It's gonna remove a little bit of anxiety from my head that I'm just speaking all by myself. and it's gonna be motivating for me to continue this grind and continue producing more episodes, which speaks about the dark side of podcasting. Hi, Leslie. Thank you so much for joining. And I want to say hi to Neeta, Sakshi, Ivan, Laurie, Christopher, and Lakisha once again. Thank you so much, Leslie. How are you, Leslie? Probably she's driving.
Hey, how are you,
Are you
Jason? I'm
driving?
doing well. I'm driving. You know, it's funny because I just had a conversation with a dear friend of mine. She said, "How's business? How's your public speaking and podcasting? Are you monetizing with your podcasting?" I said, "That's like asking somebody, a kid, do you want to be a professional football someday? What percentage of people are really being able to pay all their bills and, making a profit?" Not many, but it's the love that you said. I'm passionate. And I said, I just love the guests I have. And I'm making a community of really great people talking about health. So I hear you.
Absolutely, absolutely. Let's deep dive into this topic further. So, I'm going to be speaking about advertising and sponsorship opportunities. I'm going to break this down. I have spoken about monetization quite a lot. If you want to catch up some of my previous episodes on sponsorship, different level of sponsorship, kind of sponsorship, what you can do, hit me up. I'll send you those links. I've also made a ebook. I think I used to call it a presentation, but I think it's a nice 100-page ebook which gets into the specifics of sponsorship. All those content is out there for free so that you make informed choices. So when we hear about advertising and sponsorship in the podcast world, while there are many organizations, there are actually podcast advertising companies which are out there. I don't think many podcasters, maybe most podcasters are aware of this, but they have not tried. Okay, but there is something called as a podcast advertising companies or podcast advertising networking companies. Okay, what they do is they can provide you income, and help you grow your podcast monetarily, but you require a substantial listener base to approach these folks who would be willing to offer you ad slots. Now, most of these podcast advertising companies, they follow a CPM model. So, just in case if you're not aware, it's called cost per mile model. So which is that you get paid an X dollar value for every 1,000 downloads which you offer through an episode. So let's say this specific episode got 1,000 downloads. Then the advertiser, because I'm running the ad, will pay me, let's say, around 10 to 18 bucks every 1,000 downloads. It may not sound a lot, but at least something which is out there. So I think the minimum benchmark, or you can say the minimum requirement to qualify for such advertisement, is you need to have at least 10,000 downloads. So that you can reach out to these sponsors. So there are many sponsors, advertising partners, or advertisers which I'm aware of. These are also called as podcast monetization platforms. So what I have done is that if you're on LinkedIn, actually, I have actually put this resource on the event notes, and I have tagged it as podcast monetization platforms. It will give you a link around 10 monetization platforms which you can use as of today if you have a podcast, and you can ask them to promote an ad as long as your show has those 10,000 and above downloads. I think these guys would be interested in helping you out. I don't specifically follow this, but out of those 10, there is two things which I like the most. The first one is called the new Spotify for podcasters monetization offer. So what Spotify does is that they do dynamic ad insertion. That means you would continue doing the show and you would not really care when an ad is being played. And what Spotify's algorithm or that computer does is that it listens to the whole show, transcribes it, try to identify which category it falls under, and whichever advertiser wants to actually target such listeners, it automatically inserts a dynamic ad inside it automatically. So you don't have to choose what advertiser is gonna opt in, stuff like that. It just automatically happens. Hey Thomas, how are you? Nice from Australia. Long time no see. How you been?
Yeah, good. How are you, Jason?
I'm
Nice to
very
hear
well.
from
I'm
you.
I'm doing fantastic. I'm actually trying to change the show timing to three, like a 3 hour difference, so that you can join in regularly and be a part of my show. I'm really trying to implement that change, starting from the new season. I hope that helps. I hope it gives you enough sleep and still attend the show from Australia. All right, all right, all right. So what I was saying is that, yeah, so I like the Spotify for podcasters because it directly gives you a monetization option. Now remember, this monetization option is not available for everyone. They have a limitation. I think I think in Asia, Hong Kong and Singapore is the only countries which are being supported with this feature by Spotify. In Europe, I think Austria, Belgium, Cyprus, Czech Republic, Denmark, Estonia, Finland, France, Germany, Greece, excuse me, Ireland, Italy, Norway, Poland, United Kingdom, Switzerland, Sweden, Spain, etc. North America, Canada, and United States, both of them are available for this feature, and Australia and New Zealand is also available from Oceania continent to utilize the Spotify for podcasters revenue stream. So I know it's like a lot of information, but I have a video which I have actually added about setting up podcast subscription with Spotify under the event notes. If you were to click on the event notes on LinkedIn or on the podcast, the replay itself, you should be able to find those links. Watch that video. It kind of gives you all the information. The other advertising option which I like for podcasting, it's called Podcon, PODCORN. It's a nice website. You can sign up, and what they do is, I think once a month or once a week, they send out sponsorship opportunities, and they segregate it by different categories, like mid-roll, pre-roll, post-roll. Do they want to offer you like a sponsored segment completely? Do you want to do a sponsored interview? Stuff like that. So Podcon and Spotify for podcasters are the ones which I personally like. I actually don't do this, like, and I don't opt in as a podcaster with these monetization platforms personally, because I personally feel it's actually ridiculous, because it's next to impossible to have that kind of substantial download, especially when you're new to podcasting. It takes time, traction, a lot of work has to go through to have like a loyal following, and it takes a while for you to gather the momentum and the listeners and everyone together. Instead, I follow a different kind of monetization, okay, to help myself out. So what I do is, I promote my friends and family members business on my podcast. So I reach out to them and I ask them, would they be interested, assuming they have businesses, and I ask them, would you be willing to, would you be interested in promoting your product or service to my listeners? I mean, if you want to do it, and if you want to do it like like a pro bono thing, you might as well, help your family or your friends to do this. Why go outside? At least, it would, whatever money which will be generated, at least it would be within the circle, within your family. So there is an upside to it. Second, when you do these ads, you want to get used to the placement, how it works, stuff like that. Having your family and friends helps you to experiment that a bit, to have a little more confidence, stuff like that. The second thing I would suggest is to promote your business, even before promoting your friends or family members thing. So if you are a business owner, and if you do have a service or a product, which you are trying to sell, rather than promoting anybody else business, just promote your own business. So for an example, this specific episode which you're listening to is being sponsored by my design business called IamJ Co, which I'm a founder of. It's a graphic design, brand identity, visual identity design agency, and we assist brands to create visuals that are memorable, transformative, which helps you to differentiate from the marketplace. Something on this lines. Just promote your own stuff. You don't necessarily have to wait for investors to pop in. What if, people who are listening to and would be interested in the content, would be interested in your skill set, they might hit you up. And most of the projects which I have been doing for the past 1.5 year, all of them actually came through the medium of my podcast. You would not believe this, but all those guests who have interviewed, once they are confident with the style and work which I do, they eventually hire me for their services. Now, this is not the intent I started off my broadcast with, but that's how I transitioned. So it created a revenue stream for me. I'm going to take a pause because I know when you speak continuously for a long time, people tend to lose their attention. So what I want to do is I want to stop my vocal cords, give the microphone to Leslie, and hear her thoughts about this. Leslie, if you're available.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, it's a little. It's. Can you be a little loud? Maybe keep the microphone a little more
Sure.
closer. I
Yeah,
think it might be on CarPlay. I think
I'm
you're
in my,
inside the car.
okay, I'll try. So, yeah, at the end of the day, you have put your heart and soul, many hours, and have spent time really grooming your podcast. And as you grow and build it, you have so many other great, solid assets of the technology behind trying to create a really great podcast. And a lot of people will outsource their work for people that really understand the technical aspects of, creating a really polished podcast. So you're giving a lot of great value today, and I think we need to hear more of your voice and your expertise to help others. I love that you have guests, but I think you got to get out there and have these intimate conversations with people because you have such great value. So, yeah, really enjoying today.
Thank you, Leslie. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah. So I'm also trying to put it out there, put my word through. I mean, I have seen countless amount of designers speaking about design. I am actually bored speaking about design. Not that I don't like it. It's because I have consumed so much content. I just feel bored just to talk about it. Not that I don't care, but with podcasting, I think it's pretty interesting because in India, where I am at, this is not really a thing. Uh, when you speak about podcasting to people here, at least in the suburbs where I live, it their reaction is like I invented fire. They don't just simply understand the logic, how it works, logistics behind, and how I'm able to actually not only do interviews, but I'm able to interview people from a foreign country who don't even belong to my culture. They find it really awkward and strange. I'm very proud that I'm able to do it in a way. So, anyways, let's actually hear from Thomas. Thomas, high five to you. Is there anything you like to contribute from what you have heard so far?
Yeah, sure. Look, I think from my experience as a listener, I think you've done really well. I've been listening, obviously, for the last maybe year and a half, and I think there's certain features that I certainly attracted to, as a listener, and that's the international scope. Also, the diversity of speakers. Um, you know, you've brought on people who are filmmakers to people who are specialised in um, mental health to I mean just a vast uh, difference in topics, and I think that's great. Um, it's interesting. I was talking to my 17-year-old son only a couple of days ago, and it's I think podcasts per se is very much attracted to the new generation. The younger people. They he was talking to, he studies media, one of his subjects at secondary school, and they were talking about the amount of people using newspapers, online versus newspapers for real. And my son piped up and said, "Oh, my father, i.e., me, he's a dinosaur. He still uses a real newspaper. Everyone laughs, kind of thing." But it's podcasting is certainly, I think, something that's going to be around for many years. I think it's just the way it's a really good medium to get information across. And it's a bit like, Netflix. People want to listen when they want to listen. Uh, So, yeah, I mean, that's kind of my 2 cents worth. I think I've seen in listening to your podcasts the amount of work that you can see you put behind it, and that's I think a very important thing for people to know, because some people are probably a bit blasé when they think, oh well, it's just someone behind a microphone and you just get up and talk. I mean, it's not easy, and I know I did a LinkedIn audio about 7 months ago, my very first one and my only one, and there's a big difference between the person who's running the show versus guest speakers. So yeah, I think you know well done, and um, continue to expand your topics, expand the audience, and hopefully more great podcasts in the future.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
Jason.
Thomas. Thank you. It means a lot on what you just said. And I appreciate you showing consistent support. Guys, you would not believe right now in I think, what's the time in Australia right now? Brisbane, I think it's 2:29 a.m. in Brisbane. You're in New South Wales, right? Or
No, I'm
Melbourne?
in Victoria. I'm in Victoria, and it's daylight saving, so it's 3:30,
Oh
three
my God.
twenty-nine
So
instead
if
of two
you
twenty-nine. So
guys, if you're listening to Thomas' voice and you would be wondering why does he sound so low, is because it's very early in Australia, and he actually spares the time to come and listen to my podcast and what I do, and that really means a lot to me. And I also want to say to my listeners who are actually listening to this episode, is that I've noticed, based on my analytics, and I just want to bring it through before we move on to the other points, is that if you are listening to the podcast, please do not forget to hit the follow, subscribe button, whichever platform you're using, because it's not getting recognized and registered. If it doesn't get registered and recognized, I would not know how many people are actually, this message has been reaching out to. So do hit that subscribe or follow button. If you want to know more information about my podcast, if you click on the event notes, you should be able to see links to Spotify and Apple mentioned. Please utilize them. Now back to our topic actually, and I want to play a sound effect for this. Yeah, something of that sort. Yeah. So what I was saying is that about, if you have a business, promote your business as an ad. Okay, it doesn't matter what your podcast is about and what you're trying to sell. It can be two different things entirely. It doesn't matter. Promote that. If you don't have a business, then you can look for promoting your friends or family's business as an ad, like a sponsored segment. Doesn't have to be too expensive. Maybe you can make a deal like, let's say, $100. I would promote your episode for the next 6 months. Something of that sort. Make it very cost effective, easy. They should not feel like that you're trying to screw them over with this deal. Something of that sort. And if it's just your father, mother, somebody who's very close to you, just offer it for free. You want to potentially just educate your listeners that there is a slot for sponsorship available. So even if a potential sponsor is listening to it, and if they are interested, they would be able to reach out to you and take advantage of that slot. You're just making people accustomed to the process. All right. So next, I want to say hi to Sarah and Derek, whom you see down in the audience. Good friends of mine. Thank you so much. And Sarah is from Thailand, listening in very, very early. So what's the time in Bangkok? 23:32. Lovely, Sarah. No, thank you so much for staying so late. All right. So what I want to say is that affiliate marketing. Uh, you may have seen on YouTube videos specifically, they list down the mic they are using, the camera they are using, and they have links just to, if you want to buy it, you can buy it. Now, you might wonder, why do they have those links? Those are all affiliate links. So let's say that you build up an affiliate link program with Amazon or any other platforms out there, Walmart, whatever. I think Amazon does a really cool job. So let's say that you partner up with Amazon, you have the affiliate link, all those things which you're using, which you're purchasing, maybe clothes, whatever it is, you want to promote, and I have those affiliate links listed under the show notes, event description, or when you upload your podcast. What it does is that every time somebody clicks on it and buys it, not only that specific item, but any other items followed with it, you make a small commission out of that. Okay, if you don't find it interesting enough and you don't want to do that, I don't do it because of the market I'm catering to. I can create an affiliate account with Amazon India, but that is not going to serve for my listeners who are actually from North America, Canada, and Australia. That's the reason I don't use affiliate marketing. On the other hand, you can use something called as merchandises. You can create personalized branded merchandise like t-shirts, cups, hats, mugs, stuff like that. You can also use it as a giveaway thing for listeners who do take certain actions. Sell this stuff, have like a Shopify link or some sort of a payment page, Stripe account, something or the other. Have these products listed, let people buy these items and show support. Now, it's not like a big thing, guys. I have actually gathered a list of providers. Let me give me a second. Let me just check if I have those names available. You know what? Okay. So I think I deleted that by mistake. I'm so sorry, guys. So this is what I was referring to. So just look for drop shipping vendors who are not drop shipping, something of that sort. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Something. I think I remember. There is a company called Printable and Printify. Yeah. Printable and Printify. Printble and printify.com. What they do is they offer drop shipping for products. So for example, a person can actually buy this product. You don't need to keep an inventory, and they sell it. They send it out to the customer directly, depending upon how much you order. So printify.com and Printable, these are the two websites which I can think of. I think there was one more called Gelato something. I don't remember exactly. I'm so sorry. I lost that part of my notes. I hope that's all right, guys. Okay, moving on. So if not merchandise sales, what else can you do to have benefits? So you can actually start something called as accepting premium content, like offering premium content with a paywall. So I think Spotify offers, and along with Spotify, I think many other podcast hosts. When I say host, means the ones which helps you to publish a podcast. Okay, they offer something called as premium subscriptions. So premium subscriptions are exclusive content, and it can be behind the scenes or something maybe a little more in depth, okay, or exclusive content, anything of that nature. It can be offered to the listeners, and people can pay a subscription fee, let's say $1, $5, $10, $15. You can keep any amount as you wish, and they can tune into it, and they can help you out. So that can create additional revenue. I don't know if you know that Google Podcast actually would be migrating over to YouTube. Google Podcast has its own individual setup, so they are migrating and they're moving this podcast over to YouTube. It's going to have its own RSS. I'm sure most of you guys would be aware of this. So on YouTube, when you do actually video-based podcast vlogging or podcast content, it does give you the option to start monetization with ads. And there's also something called as super chats. I don't know if you have seen this, super chats, super badge, something of that sort. What it does is that when you do a live show, People can actually support you by sending money, or having like a special super sticker which costs so and so, and you can support content creators this way. So that can be a nice revenue stream. And what else? You can do something like very, very traditional, donate using PayPal. So for example, on the event notes, I have actually mentioned this on the event notes, that show some support, show some love by supporting the Brand Identity Design Business Podcast. And I have a link mentioned for PayPal. And you can do something similar. You can either say this during the show, or you could just post it on the notes. If anybody likes your content, if they want to show some love and support, you're giving them the opportunity to do that. Okay. And just in case, guys, from a listener's point of view, I understand sometimes investing money and all, supporting a content creator may not be very practical. You can do the basic things. Basic things like, it is not going to cost you any money to follow a podcast if you like the person, if you like the content which is being produced. It doesn't cost you any money. It is not going to do any sort of negative effect. Follow them on social media, follow them on their platforms, leave a review to the podcaster. Those are not ad-based revenue, but those are indirect social proof, though that acts like an indirect way of monetization. Okay, wherein you're offering them social proof, acknowledgement, and validation. What it does is that it gives them, may not be the money, but the boost and the morale and the inspiration and the motivation the podcast or the content creator needs to keep this grind going on. So that social currency can make a huge difference. So like I said, follow them, like their stuff, comment on it, engage with them on social media. This is the least you can do to help somebody, a content creator out there, because that support, especially when you're actually new, when you're a small kind of thing, it really helps. That really displays, it really goes a long way. So that social proof is a different style of monetization. It really, that's social currency basically. That's not monetization, but social currency. I think that also really helps. I'm going to take a pause there and ask Leslie and Thomas if they have any questions before we move on. So, Leslie, do you have any questions so far?
I think we're good. I'm really enjoying this, and it's great, all the different options. And I do the same thing when I have guests on. I promote my business when I introduce the guests, when I introduce myself. So I think that's definitely a great plug. Why not if you're podcasting? So yeah, keep going.
Awesome, awesome. Yes, Thomas, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm good. Just interested in listening to all the different aspects. So, yeah, carry on and keep doing a good job.
Thank you, Thomas. All right, so the next thing which I want to say, I want to actually bring to people's attention on what Leslie said. When, let's say that you have a podcast which interviews guests. Now, you would obviously speak to your guest offline before the interview, do like a pre-call to understand what they are trying to achieve out of the podcast, what kind of call to action they have, what product or service they want to promote, stuff like that. You can actually offer them a really good experience with your podcast, like the way you interview, okay, the audience, the engagement, the content which is being produced, and post all of that. You can actually hit the nail by asking them, would you be interested in being a sponsor on my show? And because they have already been a guest, you kind of know them. It makes a lot of sense. I think there is a nice synergy here, and I think it complements your show and what the guest wants to achieve. Because if the guest was not complementary to your vision and what you want to achieve with your podcast, you would not have interviewed them in the first place. So in similarly, I was fortunate enough to get another sponsor for this season, and I'm going to play that sponsorship ad. She has been a guest on my show. Her name is Carla Howard. She is a very distinguished speaker. She teaches people how to become a 5-figure speaker. She's doing a cohort, a 6-week cohort course. I think it's called cohort, 6-week speakers program, wherein she trains and teaches people how to step up their game and how to make money being a speaker. I want to play that ad now. this specific sponsor, I was able to get this opportunity because I had that direct conversation. I'm going to show you this as an example by playing the ad.
Are you a professional speaker who has been dreaming about getting paid for the value that you deliver for your talks and workshops? If so, the Get Paid from the Stage program was created for you. During our 6 weeks together, I will give you all of the tools, templates, and guides you need to build a speaker package that will get you noticed. You'll learn the sweet spot for pricing your talk, how to negotiate with event organizers, and how to ask for additional value that you are missing out on. The next Get Paid from the Stage program starts on October 14th. Be sure to sign up soon because seats are limited to no more than 10 participants. Be sure to mention Jaison's podcast when you register, and that will give you a 1-hour one-on-one with me at no additional cost. I can't wait to see you get paid from the stage.
All right, so guys, you heard that, right? So it's pretty simple. I was able to speak to this individual. I was able to offer a very good experience for being a guest on my show. She loved it so much. She understood the value I bring as a host and how transformative things can be. In fact, I think one of my listeners, or maybe a few listeners, were able to even take advantage of this. And they did offer a very positive response on what she's offering. If you want to know more about Carla's program, I've actually mentioned this on the show notes and the event notes. Do hit her up to reach out to her. And if you want to listen to that episode specifically, it's also mentioned under the event notes. You should be able to see this. All right. So that's another way of how you can generate revenue. So let's actually move on. Let me just see what else I wanted to talk to you about. Okay, I wanted to actually talk to you about content quality and the passion factor. So now let's shift our focus from advertising and sponsorship. Okay, let's talk about quality. Okay, now with financial gain, financial gain is definitely a valid aspiration which you and me, we all should have. It is also equally important to recognize that podcasting rewards beyond money. Okay, there is something more to it. That's why people who stick to it, they stick to it. The passion for the topic which you want to talk about, the quality of the content which you're producing, this is actually more rewarding than the actual paycheck. So as long as you're able to consistently do that, you're actually harnessing and creating a reputation for yourself in front of your audience. And what it does is that it really allows you people to get to know you more. They understand about your brand, what you're trying to achieve, what the expertise you bring, stuff like that, the niche which you're trying to target and to help out with. That really helps. So think of your podcast like a platform which helps you building a personal brand and a personal voice of your own. My personality, the way I speak, the way I talk, the way I pause, everything, is just authentically me. And and your audience who engage and listen to it, they understand this and they value it and they respect it because I'm authentically me and not trying to polish anything up. What it does is that it may not help you to get a gigantic mass following, but at least the people who follow you would be interested in the stuff which you're trying to offer. And I would recommend, rather than capturing the whole market as a whole, try to target those small niche individuals and gradually build it up. Go slow, go one person at a time, offer good experience to that one individual, make them a loyal fan, and keep grinding and moving on. It's a slow process, it's a steady process, but it has huge upside toward it. Now let's talk about networking. What are the other ways how it can be rewarding to do this? Beyond the money, actually, it is networking and learning. So as Thomas said and as Leslie said, you guys like the guests, the flavor of guests which I bring from different continents. I bring them. They have different expertise, different things they speak on. This is all knowledge, this is all information. What it does is that it also helps you to simultaneously meet new people, build and bridge connections, and you never know what that can lead into. I see that Wade, who joined the conversation now, Wade was one of those individuals who referred me to a guest who is the Canadian ice wine king, and I interviewed him on my podcast. And currently, that specific episode, which randomly came because of Wade's recommendation, is trending number one on Apple Podcast with a sizable amount of listens about the Canadian wine industry, which is super, super cool of you, Wade. I want to welcome you, and how are you doing? All right. I don't know if you might be at work. It's okay if you're at work.
Nope, sorry, I was trying to unmute and I couldn't unmute. I'm doing fine. Sorry for joining the podcast so late.
That's all right. That's all right. Don't worry. I am going to be shifting the timing from 12 Eastern Standard Time to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time very soon. So that 3 hour distance difference should give people the flexibility. I think so. I think so. So that you can be, more into this thing, be a part of this as much as possible, and help us grow collectively. So again, stressing this enough. When I interview people, when I bring these guests, and when you listeners actually listen to it, when I have all those social links of my guests listed, this is a way how you can directly engage with them, build connection, build friendship. All these four individuals, the three individuals, and the one who is on the listening lounge, Derek, all of these relationship came about by just me doing this thing. You guys would have not known who am I and what I do at all if I just would have continued doing like every other human being on earth. So I think those networking possibilities shows infinite. Now we have, somebody from Australia here, United States, South America, North America, God knows which all continents you might be listening to. I'm from Asia. So you understand the possibilities are infinite, and that really gives you benefits which is beyond money. Now, as we progress by bringing new people, fostering this relationship, I think we are trying to build a small community, and this community has to be open. So, as a podcaster, remember, things won't be perfect at the first stretch. You would end up making mistakes. And what you have to do is be open enough to listen to feedback from your listeners. Okay, understand how you can make it easy for them. What are their pain points? How you can solve their issues? How you can help them to achieve success through your medium. So these are the motivational points which helps me to continue the grind without really worrying about how much money I make through my podcast. It gives me the desire to keep doing this over and over again and experiment with new things. So, in a nutshell, if you were to ask me, okay, would your podcast pay the bill? I think I have to say maybe, maybe not. Okay, but the experience and the connection, the knowledge you gain are always invaluable, and that's the true beauty of podcasting. On that note, I want to actually pause. Wrap this today's conversation, because this is something which I wanted to share with you all. I want to actually open up the space now for Q&A, and I wanted to actually get people's point of view, from this, what they think about it. We will go backwards. So let's start with Wade. Wade, I know you came late. You may not have got the opportunity to listen to everything I said in the back 40-45 minutes. But do you have a general question you like to ask me about this specific topic?
No, I don't. Sorry, Jason. As I said, I came into this late, so I'll leave it for everybody else to uh, give their questions, and if something comes up, then I'll give it a high five.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Okay, and Derek, I'd like to invite you up. If you're interested, please raise your hand. I will be happy to bring you up. All right, so let's hear from Thomas. Thomas, do you have anything you like to contribute or ask me as a question?
Yeah, sure. My question to you, Jason, is how do you see the future, for your platform? Are you going to continue, with the same frequency and number of podcasts into the future, or are you finding you're plateauing? Are you reaching a crescendo? Are you what's your what's your view on your future content? Are you getting sick of it? Are you enjoying it? Interested to hear your perspective.
Yeah, so I would say the future, like where I want to head with my podcast is, first of all, I'm trying to figure a way out a very cost effective method to dub my episodes into Spanish. Okay, because Hispanic market, the South American market is very big, and what I want to do is I want to figure an interesting and easy method using technology, how I can dub it. It should not be too expensive because again I'm just burning cash from my end. Something very cost effective, and it has to be original. So that's the first thing which I want to do. I want to see how that penetrates to the market. So I would have another channel created on Spotify. I'll do a bulk upload and I'll convert everything from English to Spanish. So that's one. The second thing which I want to do, that's a future which I want to achieve, is to come up with mini series, and I'm already trying to experiment with this. So in the beginning of the show, I did mention that on October 11th, I'll wrap my season. Now, typically, what I used to do from the past 4 seasons is that I take a break of 2 months, find new people, and I start the following season. Now, I was like, how I can help my guests to display their expertise more to my listeners so that it can offer more value. So they came up with this idea called as the branding notebook. I'm still trying to figure out if I should call it notebook or playbook, whatever. It's like a mini series, and I want to do one for branding. I want to do a mini series for marketing. I want to do a mini series for advertisement, something of that sort. I want to do 3 mini series. I have a handful of people who I know would be a good fit. Okay, and what I want to do is I want to interview them for 4 to 6 episodes at a stretch, and focusing on one specific topic, and we deep dive into it completely. Now, you might be wondering, why would I do this? Actually, again, the reason I'm doing this is because the quality of content which can be produced when you go that precise, it's going to be very, very informative. And because I would be doing this in a sequence, the listener, I'm educating the listener at the same time, offering them valuable content. I'm also helping my guests display their expertise so that, if they want to share this content through with somebody, they would be like, I've been on Jason's podcast. I have done actually a mini series completely, with me being the guest, and we have deep dived on this topic at large. Why didn't you listen to this content? I'm sure this should answer most of your questions. If you're still interested, please reach out to me. I would be happy to help you out with whatever deliverables or scope of work you want to try to achieve. So I'm thinking from their point of view. I'm thinking how I can serve and be of benefit to my guests and my listeners, and how I can help them out to the maximum stretch. Now, to experiment and to test these waters out, I've reached out to a few prospects. Okay, and the guest who I would be interviewing on October the 11th, her name is Isabelle Poirier. I hope I'm pronouncing her name right. And she does a lot of Adobe Lives, and she has been consistently speaking about creating a brand experience using all the 5 senses. So she's a multisensorial designer. So I stumbled upon the idea. I was like, what if we create like a 6-part series? One, I would give overview to the people as what exactly all these 5 senses are, and then we dissect each sense with a company as an example, and we will build things from there. And I don't know, when I was actually thinking about this idea, I was like, holy shit. Yeah, so that can happen. And I think that would be interesting. So to give you some context, so let's say that we are referring to a company who is into the visual space. They are really using that specific sense to attract the target market. A good example would be like Red Bull. Red Bull really uses their visual and they try to have that message, that signal unconsciously being sent out to people, so that wherever you're in the world, the moment you see Red Bull and that visuals, you immediately know what that brand is and what that brand is going to speak about. In a similar way, let's talk about taste. Okay, I can think of a brand which is very prominent, especially with the word taste. Taste as a sense, it's Coca-Cola or maybe Starbucks. These brands typically use the palate, the taste as a palate, to communicate and to hit those senses. So I was like, and I call her Easy. I was like, let's do, a 6-part segment, and let's actually dissect this with each brand, and let's give people more examples. So first thing which I want to do is keep the series short. So that means I want to do limited episodes. Second, I want to keep it for a shorter duration, because I've never actually done any show less than 90 minutes so far in my life, at least with my podcast, other than the solo shows which I do, the one which you're listening right now. Okay, which still goes to about 1 hour, even if I like it or no. So I gave myself like 45 minutes, and I was like, can we make chewable content which people can write on their notebook? And that's why I call it as the branding notebook mini series. And I wanted to shift the timings as well from 12 to 3. And I was like, before I actually pivot to season 5 completely to this new time, let me experiment it and see what difference does it make on the analytics. Is my listeners' engagement increasing? Is it helping me reach to a newer audience? Stuff like that. So this is the reason why I decided to just experiment with this mini series before we jump into season 5. I hope that makes sense. I see that Derek, you joined the conversation. I'm so sorry, Derek. I actually went ahead with the flow. Did not realize that I wanted to give you the opportunity to contribute or ask me a question. Please go ahead.
Hi, Jason. So I used to run a podcast many, many years ago, and one of the biggest things was timing, like having enough time to produce quality. And as someone who listens to a lot of podcasts, I can tell who prepares and who doesn't. I think, could you speak about like how long, because I think you produce a quality podcast. That's why I come in every week. Can you talk about how much time it takes to produce a quality podcast?
All right. So preparation and planning is the key. So what I do is, this is my structure. Okay, give me a sec. Okay, I'm gonna just put you on mute because it just fiddles around with the recording on the interface. All right. So what I typically do is I start from Thursday. So Wednesday is my live show. So once I have the show produced, I'll upload everything on the same day. From Thursday onwards, I'll start working on the next week's show. So Thursday, I'll create the graphics. Sometimes I do it early. Create all the promotional material. Second, on Friday, I sit and I work on a title, a topic, and a description. Once I'm okay with the title and description, I send it out to my guests, asking them to proofread it and let me know if the copy is okay to be moved ahead with. I think on the same day, once I get a confirmation, I create the event. Once I have the event and once I do all the social sharing, so I post it on LinkedIn, I post it on Instagram threads, YouTube. I also post it on YouTube community, a few groups on LinkedIn. Where else? Yeah, that's what I can think of. WhatsApp. I also do an email blast, stuff like that, whatever. Okay, so then what I do is once I'm pretty straightforward in my head what I want to achieve, the topic, I then sit down and prep myself with the questions. Now let's assume that it is not a question which I'm intending on asking a guest. Let's say that this is something which I want to do as a monologue. So then what I do is I do a brain dump, a process called brain dump. So whatever I can think of, and that the idea doesn't have to be structured or organized, I just dump whatever which comes into my head, which I feel could be relevant. And I do this brain dump for the next few days, let's say till Monday. So the only thing I do is just brain dumping. Okay, and once I'm exhausted and I'm like, I can't think of any other ideas which I feel could be relevant, And obviously, guys, I do take use of technology, so I would go into Google, read blogs, because sometimes you may not it may not just click. You would probably want to. Leslie, are you okay? I think you unmuted by mistake.
Whoops, sorry.
That's okay. All right. So, yeah. So, I'll do a brain dump. I'll gather resources, research, stuff like that. And, I'll try to put everything through. And once I have everything listed down, then I kind of narrow things down. Then I use like a funnel strategy. What I do is I try to think from my listener's point of view using an empathy model, walk in their shoes, and ask myself, if I throw this point, would they be interested in hearing this out? Would they be interested in engaging with it? And go from there. So the reason I may see, so it may sound like I'm actually giving it like a few days. Quite honestly, I might just spend just 2 or 3 hours in a day. You might be able to accomplish everything maybe in just 1 or 2 days. It's up to you and how you do it. I try to shorten this down because I also have other things which I do simultaneously. I work on my business. I have to get leads, speak to my future guests, speak to my prospects I would be want to do business with. I do all of that within that 5 or 6 day duration. So and then you have to relax, and you need to understand the user who is going to be listening to is not expecting you to be perfect, especially with your content delivery. So be as humanistic as possible. That means be you. Do not stretch yourself with the fact that it has to be polished and finely produced. The more raw it is, when I say raw, I don't mean like very bad. What I mean is that just keep the editing to as much small extent as possible, because the more you edit it, the more time consuming is this. You can't fix everything. If you make it very polished, then people just think of it like an ad. That's what I have seen. Like, think about YouTube ads which gets played. You see those polished ads. Definitely deep inside your gut that you're seeing an ad. So when you see polished episodes, you just feel like it's an ad, and people just tune out, or they just don't pay attention to it. So be original, be authentic. Don't do a lot of post-production work. Keep it simple. And last but not least, start producing. Don't really care how the episode would end up. It's all about you practicing. And once you do enough amount of practice, I think everything comes naturally. All right. So, Derek, does that answer your question?
Yes, very much so.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Do you have a follow-up question? Anything else you'd like to ask me?
Not at the moment. Thank you.
Lovely, lovely. If you are not following my podcast, anybody, guys, listeners, trust me. I think based on my recent stat, I think 55% of the people, and I'm going to let you know the analytics right now. 4,400 people who listen to my podcast, at least in the last 60 days, have not 60s, I'm so sorry, 30 days, have not followed my podcast. You're actually just listening to this live just randomly, and it's not really helping my analytics because I don't know your geography, I don't know your age group. I'm not saying specifically your age group, at least a general idea, my audience, which continent you belong to, which country you are from, so that I can tailor make those resources. Though if I get a lot of listeners from the UK, maybe I'll have another podcast which specifically targets that market, or maybe another series which would target that specific market. So that analytics would really help. Okay. When I started off my podcasting journey, trust me, I was fucked. I did not know why I got into this. I only had one and only one concern. That was I fumbled, and I was too scared to speak. I was too scared to make friends. I was an introvert, and I wanted to come out of my shell. That's the only intention I started my podcast with. And I think, it just brought me to just new horizons. It helped me not just explore, the inner workings of myself. It made me a better human being. It helped me meet new people. And I think I have more confidence in me in comparison to how I started. If I would have worried what to do, how much to do, how long to do. I don't think I would have been able to come this far. Remember, you can all figure out those nitty gritties as you progress ahead. Your audience will tell you if it's working or if it's not working. Okay, so based on that, you can collectively take a decision. All right. So I want to, just offer the microphone to each and everybody else who is on the listening, who are listening to us right now, who are listening to me right now. Do you have any questions? Anything, guys or girls? You like to
Uh,
ask me? Anything?
Jason, I just
Yeah.
wanted to say thank you. I have to go now, but good luck for the next season, and I hope everything goes swimmingly. And just also just in relation to what you said about transformation, I think it's not just for the person creating it, but I think you were one of the first LinkedIn audios that I started listening to, way back over a year ago, and I think you were very patient, and you were good with people and engagement. So yeah, just wanted to say thank you, and hopefully I'll get to listen more of your productions when it's at the new time zone. So thank you again, and all the best.
Thank you, Thomas. That means a lot, and I am very, very appreciative of that. So I want to thank each and everyone who is listening to us. If you want to find those links, I think it is on the show notes, event notes. Please take advantage of all those things. It really takes a long time, guys, just to figure out all the resources for you folks. It really takes a long time, so please take advantage of it. Please utilize it. If you don't need it, at least send it to somebody whom you think can benefit from this conversation. I think that would really help. I want to thank each and everyone once again for being so supportive and for helping me out with this whole thing, especially to my listeners from North America, Canada, Australia, Turkey, Sweden, Spain, India, and many other countries, including Thailand. So I appreciate all of you folks. Take care of yourself. Have a lovely morning, evening, afternoon, wherever you're in the world. God bless you all. Please do join the next week's show. It's going to be very transformative, it's going to be very informative, and you will thoroughly enjoy it. Take care. Bye.